Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got Aurelius Higgs, and I'm really happy to have him on the show. He's an entrepreneur and he helps clients focus on communication for his clients. And he's gonna talk to us about the show up framework. He's gonna talk to us all about navigating emotional turbulence, and really happy to have him on the show. So Marcus, welcome.
Hello, Doc. It's wonderful to be here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I love the podcast is really informal. So everybody calls me Chris, and introduce yourself and talk about what you do. And excited to dive into the conversation.
Cool, Chris. Most definitely. Yeah, I'm a communications coach for parents of preteens. I used to be an in-class K-12 teacher, teaching grade 12 and grade 9, and then also fifth grade. My major was communication, journalism, and a little bit about my travels and why I do what I do. My mother's from the Philippines. My father's from the Bahamas. As I told you, I'm in the Bahamas now. And I was born in California. So I'm a third culture kid. And inter or multicultural families is one thing that I enjoy working with. Right after getting my degree, I went straightway to South Korea and I served there as an English missionary. I say my understanding of the divine expanded. The reason I say it like that is no animosity towards the church, but spirituality is a big part of what I do. Never proselytizing. I'm always BYOB, bring your own beliefs. And from there, I taught in Saudi Arabia, Spain, and Thailand. And since transitioning out of the classroom, I had a set of skills. And Mr. Rogers said, if you want to help the kids, you support the parents. And my communication teacher said, just to show you all of this lines up, all the dots connect themselves when you look back. But my communication teacher said, the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of your communication. And helping parents connect with their kids during this first identity breaking is what I do. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my work.
Yeah, really interesting, and really excited to dive into the conversation. It's all about communication, and I assume your teacher that you're referencing was Tony Robbins. He said he's talking about the quality of your communication. So what one thing you talk about is this talk about show up framework, and what is show up framework, and elaborate on that.
Or if I could take one step backwards, just to let you know the challenges before we look at the solution. So when kids are transitioning from dependence into independence, I say there are three things that happen. It's called a wall of ice, ICE. First is identity breaking. Life is continually asking us, who are you? And we figure out who we are when we go through our stressors, right? Anybody with any life experience can tell you, I figured out who I am as I started going through my trials and tribulations. The next one is collaborative mistrust. During 12 years old is when when skepticism starts to settle in, because you're not sure who to trust when you start to understand there are other different perspectives in the world. What your parent has been saying has been your black and white, has been the gospel, but then now it's just, oh no, other people think other things too. And ideally, there are other trusted adults inside their lives who can help them navigate this. So there's collaborative mistrust. And the E is emotional management. I used to teach in Thailand, and I remember my students would always crack up because we have that Stephen Hugh joke. He's like, emotional management. But yeah, that's a big challenge for these kids at this age, because what your emotions do is they help you navigate this outside world. They give you an understanding of what's on the inside of what your desires are and how you're moving towards them. And then that's why the highs feel high and the lows feel low. You become more sensitive so you can understand what it means to be safe in this world. So that's the setup first of what we're dealing with. The show up framework is how I explain to parents and help parents show up for their preteen or be there to support them. I said a lot, but before diving into the framework, are there any questions or something?
No, I really set up, and I think the audience are really interested in hearing about the show up framework.
Cool, cool. All right. So I say what I do is transformational coaching, working with the parents with the thing that's most relevant to them, right? Their kid. And S, it starts with a strong identity. All behavior comes from an identity. That's James Clear. We say I am, fill in the blanks. And when I say it starts with a strong identity, there are two things I'm focusing on here: virtues and values. Virtues are 24 characteristic strengths from PIA, positive psychology, that are with everybody. All faiths, beliefs, all cultures. If you're a human, you have virtues. Things like creativity, leadership, hope, right? Then values are just what's important to you. For some people, it's finance. For other people, it's family. But if I know what your virtues and your values are, it helps me be more relevant in my communication with you. And also, when you speak to that inside a person, it shows connection. There's no persuasion without identification. And if you could see how you're like me with your virtues and values, then that's how we can connect. H is hold space for collaboration and critical thinking. When people go through their stresses, oftentimes they think, what's wrong with me? When it's no, your life is just life. You're experiencing growth. And then we learn to collaborate with our kids. It's called autonomy supportive parenting. It's an approach to parenting where you do some active listening, you get their input, their ideas, you give your feedback, and then you come up with a solution and answer, and then you work together towards that. And it's always open to change, right? They feel supported. Always opening up communication. There are many different frameworks in which we use for the kids to feel comfortable. And then how do you communicate with a preteen, right? There's a particular way. There's a wonderful book by Michelle Eichert called The 14 Conversations to Have Before 14. And we use that framework, brief framework. And then W is wonder and explore this world together. That comes from Angela Duckworth, committing to effortful projects that are long-term, that are self-directed, and we can't give up. But what it does, it creates a space for us to have conversation with our kid about what growth is and making progress towards things. And then UP is unveil your potential, celebrating. It's because we don't celebrate people's identity. When you came onto the podcast, the first thing I said to you is, I see your progress. You're consistent. I'm speaking to your identity and I'm reaffirming who you are. And I celebrate you on that. And that feels good. And that helps you continue on with your progress, with your effortful project. So that's what the show up framework is. And it's learning how to do that for yourself, as well as doing it for your kid during these formative years.
Yeah. Amazing. One thing that I really love is I grew up in the States. My parents were first generation, and I was born and raised here. And what's interesting is my parents chose to live in a all white neighborhood, and then I saw a lot of my colleagues, they were Asian. We call them ABCs, American born Chinese. And
Chinese.
their parents their parents chose to live in the all Asian community. And what's interesting is like these individuals, their parents, they were telling me that their parents emphasized cultural confidence. And that's something new because for me, my parents were always, just fit in, just be white. And talk about the importance of identity in preteens, especially if you're a mix or you're not white or you're a minority. Talk about that.
Wonderful. There's also this book called ABC, American Born Chinese. Read it? It's a comic novel because we used to do it in middle school. Look it up, because what happens is there is an American born Chinese kid there. And then these are the words from the book. This kid comes fresh off the boat and he's like trying to distance himself from him while also trying to be there to help this kid cross over, in a sense. And identity, it follows you for the rest of your life. And life is continually asking, who are you? To which you answer, I am, and you fill in the blanks. Whenever I meet multicultural kids, multicultural people, it's not so extreme as the one or the other, but oftentimes it either makes or breaks you.
Mm-hmm.
You either learn to lean into more so who you are,
Mm-hmm.
or you learn to be discombobulated of just still trying to figure it out more so after.
Mm-hmm.
I have this phrase in my business. There's no greater privilege than to be who you are. And I work with the parents figuring out who to make sense of. And this is what we do with our kids, right? Make sense of what it is and what you're experiencing. And then there's collective identity, which is called culture. Seth Godin says people like us do things like this. Now, your family had that culture of, hey, we get in where we fit in. And I totally understand that. I have a Filipino mother who told me she was Black when I was younger. And I still remember that. But we did all that. We did the barongs. I grew up with a Pinoy background, But I was wondering when she told me that, I'm like, why do you say that? Anyhow. And then there's also, hey, remember where your roots were, remember what this was. And then there's third culture kids who it's just, hey, I'm a mix of these things, or I am something new. Being Chinese American is very different from being Chinese from the mainland, or how to say it there. I affirm people in their characters, in their identity. That's what I do as a teacher. You said speak to it. As a parent, I'm gonna enter into the conversation of how you're trying to figure this out. Where are you finding your evidence and examples? Yet more, like I told you with the virtues and values, all cultures, all people have virtues. And really what the virtues do is they work towards the well-being of other people and the well-being of ourselves. And if I'm speaking to your identity of well-being, that's going to create relationships. Because in positive psychology, what we say is other people matter. And that's actually the underlying problem for the epidemic of loneliness we see, the depression that we see. It's in service to other people with healthy boundaries, boundaries of connection and disconnection. But it's in understanding ourselves that we're able to connect with others. And I speak to the identity of virtues in people. Yeah.
Very powerful. Yeah, because I feel like for my colleagues and cohorts who grew up, their parents emphasize cultural confidence. They're much more secure and grounded in their identity. Whereas kind of me, I always feel like I'm an outsider. I feel like I don't fit in anywhere. You put me anywhere, I feel like I'm an outsider, but it's really interesting how identity is really key. The other
Yeah,
question is you have the role of you time. What is that?
sure. You time is intentional quality time, right? So every kid wants to be seen, soothed, secure, safe. Things can grow if there are two things there. If they know they're safe and if they know they're nurtured, or i.e., if they know they're loved. That gives us confidence to expand, i.e., grow. What you time does is creates quality time on the calendar to let your kid know you have my undivided attention. And actually, I can you can dictate where this time goes now within parameters and within boundaries. It's not all willy-nilly. What this could look like is a night of cooking, Monday or Wednesday night. It could look like 20-minute walk around the block. Could look like 5 minutes before bed or 5 minutes when we wake up. What you're doing is you're setting up a ritualized time to say, you get my attention. And this is a place where you can talk about whatever you want. You're letting it off your chest. And I'm here to listen to you. And I, with the intention of getting to know each other. Intimacy, the root of it means to know. That's why in the Bible it said Adam knew Eve. It just means to know. That's what intimacy is. In getting to know somebody, you have to spend time with them. And what kids are looking for, they're looking for a quality of time, not necessarily quantity. And it's a time when our hair is down and we're just, hey, you get to see me. Now, the reason we put it on a calendar is because it creates some regularity. And if there's a time when you can't get to your kid in the rush of the day, it's, hey, can we leave this for you time? They know it's coming. And if they know it's coming, then it's just, okay, yeah, no, I know we have that time. And really, this is an element of relationships. We make time for the things we care about. If you have a significant other, you have date night. If you believe in a higher power, greater force, you bookend your days at the beginning, at the end, and in between with conversations. This is being intentional on making sure your child is seen.
Yeah. The other thing, because I really love this here, you again, I love your background and I spend a lot of time abroad. And one thing I noticed here in the States is it's all about competition. It's us, it's me versus you. It's like it's survival of the fittest. But to talk about, and I love South America, Europe, where they're collaborative and it's like the whole. So talk about collaboration over competition.
Yeah. I'll start out by saying this. The creator question is, what do you want? And with different cultures and different people, we want different things. And in the Western English speaking world, we do want to dominate. We're looking for these four things, right? And it's not that bad. They are motivators, but if they're the end all and be all, that's where a lot of our dissatisfaction comes from. It's either status, resources, control, i.e. power, or pleasure. Now, this comes from Arthur C. Brooks. He wrote a book with Oprah and he's a teacher out in Harvard. But these four things are oftentimes the motivators that move us. However, they're not bad, but if this is your end goal, if this is the end all and be all, you won't be satisfied.
Mhm.
In our Western society, oftentimes this is seen as indicators of success. And not to knock it, that is somebody's value system. You can have other things that are more valuable, which I think relationships are more valuable. And if you can form relationships aligned with towards power, aligned towards resources, aligned towards pleasure, that's a beautiful thing. What we're looking for is what he says. He says it's family, relationships, and friends, family and friends, in effort towards a future you can believe in with faith. And just to let you know, I'm BYOB, bring your own beliefs. Like I've experienced a-holes and jerks and BS bad stuff in all cultures and all religions.
Oh.
But if I know you are, and when I say that, I've also experienced the good in it. So I'm welcoming to people. Not that said, people who believe in higher forces, greater powers, even if you're agnostic and atheist, and that greater force is each other. If we believe in each other in our relationships,
Mhm.
we do more. We leverage the human spirit.
Mhm.
Collaborative or competitive? I would say not necessarily bad. It's as long as we can hold the other person in their dignity. Like healthy competition is good. Competition means to ask what's in you and to say, hey, we're pitting our energy against each other. And at the end of it, if a person makes an honest effort, now this is my value system. I'm also all about collaboration. I think that's how we leverage it. Like Naval Ravikant said, that's one of the four levers of a great business. Like learning how to work with other people. We need that. What do you want me to say about it? I don't know. I think we need both of them, but being mindful of what we want, what our desires are, and aligning those is where it all begins.
I love that. How can people find out more about you and learn more about you, see the work that you do? I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah. On my website, marcushiggs.com,
Mhm.
right after this video is done, I'm recording some videos for a workshop I'm putting together in regards to establishing the identity within your child. It starts with a strong identity. That's where they can learn more about me, marcushiggs.com.
Yeah, I love and I love, like I said, I love hearing from different perspectives, and I really enjoyed it. And for the audience, be sure to check out Marcus's socials and follow his resources. And thanks so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure, Chris. It's been wonderful.